Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Balance Sheet. I'm Billy, and this is my co-host Raj.
What's up, everybody?
Appreciate everyone joining us once again. We've got another really fantastic week in women's wrestling. A lot to cover, and continued theme from the last month. Really, a lot of great wrestling happening outside of WWE, and we're going to continue to push for everyone to expand their horizons there if you haven't already. But we got a fantastic match on Ring of Honor, the Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view, which ended up being free on YouTube and is still out there. And then another great match on Marigold. But we absolutely do need to start in the WWE. Really, the biggest story coming off of the Paris PLE last night is Becky Lynch joining the the Vision and joining up with her husband Seth Rollins, and really what everyone believes that could lead to. And I won't leave that hanging too much longer. There's a big rumor out there that AJ Lee will be coming back to WWE. So I will kick it over to you, partner, and let you expand on how you feel about what went down yesterday and the possibility of AJ Lee coming back.
Well, considering I actually said this on the pod like eight
You
months
did.
ago that the way to bring AJ Lee back is, you know, coming to save CM Punk because at some point, Becky gets involved with Seth. They play the on-screen, they're married in real life and they play it on screen. And this is an easy way to bring AJ back for a mixed tag where it's like a big payday, a main event type of, pay-per-view match. And, that was my original WrestleMania idea when I thought it was going to be Roman Reigns against CM Punk for like the battle for Heyman before Seth got interjected into it. I thought that the match at Mania could be Seth Becky because at the time we didn't know what Becky was doing, right? Like we didn't know there was the whole they're going to take Bailey out so she's going to return with Lyra, and it would have been the perfect way to bring Becky back, have AJ Punk, Seth, Becky. It's not a main event, but for both of those guys, they would probably be so happy that they got to partner with their wives. So I think for them, it would be a big deal. And I'm sure it's a big deal to AJ and Becky. But yeah, it's clear cut AJ's coming back. I mean, I don't think we need to
Yeah.
speculate like this is a rumor. At this point, Seth going into the camera last night, I hate your family. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is he talking about? Larry the dog? Of course he's talking
Yeah.
about AJ. And then Becky being involved. Like and then if did you I don't know if you watched the post show, but Big E saying, well, CM Punk has a wife, and I know her very well. And then the other person, I think it was Megan Morant, goes, oh, you're just putting it out there. AJ Lee, are you saying this opens the door for AJ? And then CM Punk takes the sign that says CM Punk bring back AJ. Okay, that's it, right? Like
Yeah.
they're at this
Yeah.
point telling you they're going to ESPN September 20th. They are going against All Out September 20th. And the one thing we all know about TKO, and this is why it's very important, by the way, for all of us wrestling fans to support AEW, because what they want to do is they want to bury AEW.
Yep.
And they want to make sure AEW does not get another TV deal. Now, I don't think that's going to happen, and I'll tell you why. Because as we got on the air this morning, breaking news, Warner Brothers is giving on TNT the first hour, the 0 hour is going to be free on TNT September 20th from Toronto, going up against WrestlePalooza. So they are obviously behind Tony, and they're saying, okay, we're going to let you fight back. Now,
Yep.
back to this. I did not realize that AJ returning would be such a divisive topic because for years, and again, my ex-wife did not really watch wrestling, but she knew enough to be dangerous, as they say. AJ Lee is the one person she would always want to watch her segments. It did not matter where it was, when it was. She's like AJ. She bought AJ's book. She loves AJ Lee. So I remember that era where AJ was like the top girl.
Yeah.
So I thought the nostalgia of her coming back would just be this universally praised thing. I gotta tell you, I'm very shocked that it's not. I have people who we both know who think A, it does nothing for the women because she's coming back into a men's story.
Correct.
B, it takes Becky, who has been the most consistently booked women's champion since she returned, out because now she's part of a male stable. And what does it do? AJ's not coming back to wrestle her daughter Roxanne. She's not coming back to wrestle Bailey. She's not coming back to even wrestle, let's say, Paige if they were to ever return Paige or Nikki Bella. She's coming back specifically to help her husband in a mixed tag match where we know it's going to be split, like in terms of promo time and everything, and the women aren't necessarily going to get the spotlight. It's going to be everybody, but the truth is the women are the big story here. AJ Lee is the story, not CM Punk. And
Yeah.
I did not know that there was so much kind of vitriol towards AJ returning. I thought it would be universally praised. In my opinion, and I'm just being unbiased here, and people might disagree with this. I think AJ Lee returning is probably the biggest story for the women's division this year. If for nothing else, she's kind of the last woman who hasn't returned of a certain era.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, it doesn't help the women's division. Um, they're part of the men's world title storyline now. Um, her returning is the big news, but nobody is under the impression that she's coming back to wrestle even half a schedule. You know what I mean? You got to listen to the woman over the last 10 years. She's not dying to come back and wrestle even a handful more matches. I fully believe that if she comes back, they get her for some segments and maybe a match or two. But I think that's where even some of her fans, and I'll get into this, are a little bit disappointed. You you've been having rumors of her returning since Royal Rumble 2018 because she is for a lot of women a symbol of women's empowerment from her character. You know, she had some promos that were controversial that probably don't hold up as well today, obviously, but um, Evolution, Royal Rumble, you named all of the matches that she can come back for a one-off feud, and then she ends up, it's CM Punk and her are pretty, beloved as a couple, but kind of as an underwriting part of the men's world title feud is not even what her fans dreamt up for her, truthfully, and I could tell that by the ones that I follow on Twitter. I was kind of talking to you about this. I see a lot of male fans are just excited she's coming back. A lot of her female fans are bittersweet feelings because they don't like why she's coming back, right? They would have preferred it for her to be in kind of a more standalone um, storyline for herself. The Becky piece of this we'll have to unpack, but I think that if ESPN is banking on them burying AEW by bringing AJ Lee back, I think it's going to work to drive business for them, but it's not coming out of the AEW bucket. It's just not, and I'll explain why. If you love AJ Lee and you're still watching AEW, you know, that doesn't compute for me because you're probably a CM Punk fan. You already moved over.
Mm.
There's probably some Mercedes fans that if she, we talk about that segment of viewers that she's bringing to AEW that they don't have it all without her. Some of them may pick AJ over her depending on what her all out match is. but it's not going to be a lot. But it will look like it worked because where AJ is going to bring more people in is casual lapsed viewers are going to come back to watch her.
Mhm.
I don't know what the number is, but it's not coming out of the AEW bucket. It's coming out of the bucket of people who just aren't watching wrestling right now. They're going to hear she's back. Oh, and it's on ESPN. It's accessible. Oh, I already have access to this because I have ESPN through my cable provider. I'm going to watch a show. I don't think it hurts all in or all out, excuse me. Um, I do think Tony needs to focus on what he's been doing, and that's delivering a really, really good pay-per-view card and not worrying about what WWE is doing. But it's certainly an effort to take from AEW, but I just don't think that she's the one. I don't think there's a crossover there or a ton of it at least.
Yeah, I don't think they'll have I think Lesnar Cena has more of a chance to take away from
Yes,
AEW because it is John Cena. He is whether, I know you have expressed that he's never been your cup of tea, but I watched last night in France. He means a lot to a lot of people,
he
John Cena.
does.
He
I
does.
totally agree.
And he being that he has 8 appearances left. Now, what's interesting is on the post show, Michael Cole slipped up and said, "Oh, John Cena's last match is January." And I'm like, wait a minute, haven't they been selling me December this whole time?
Right.
But back to what we're talking about here with AJ, um, I would have loved for her to be brought back to put over new talent. I think it would have been cool for like my dream for her was always coming back to put Roxanne over.
That would have
Be,
been my
to be
preferred.
rock to be the stamp for Roxanne of okay, Roxanne, because when you watch Roxanne, I mean, look, I'm not comparing them in the ring because I think Roxanne is levels as a wrestler above AJ. Levels. But her aesthetic, that's AJ.
Yeah.
She has a lot of AJ mannerisms, the way she runs into the ring. Like AJ is, there's a lot of these wrestling, these women who wrestle because of Sasha Bailey Brooklyn. I definitively can say Roxanne, that's part of what helped her, but she's AJ Lee. Like when I look,
She she's she's AJ Lee from a cared about wrestling standpoint, and then Bailey and Sasha informed who she became as a wrestler in the ring, I think. But yes, if you look back on all the pictures and stuff, I mean, she was hooked into the fandom through AJ
yeah.
Lee. So
So I would
that
have
would be
loved
perfect.
I would have loved to see Roxanne be put over, and maybe they still do that. Maybe because when CM Punk kept taking all these pop roxes at these house shows, I'm like, maybe she is gonna come back for Roxanne
Hmm.
because I always thought it would have been Dom Roxanne against Punk AJ. That was what I thought it would have been. But clearly, that wasn't what it's going to be. It's going to be Seth and Becky, which is fine. And here's my other thing about AJ being brought back in this manner. It ties up the only woman's title that they have booked correctly.
Yep.
So, and I'm going to shout her out here. So, Chen and I were chatting last night and I just got her thoughts on the pay-per-view. And Chen, said, look, they need to take the belt off Becky. If she's going to be in this feud with Division and feud with AJ and Punk, she should lose the belt. Like that's almost the way to bring AJ back unintentionally, which is AJ costs her the title. And then they have like more of a reason to feud. Because she's like having Becky being the champ tied up in this feud, it does nothing for the belt. Because the belt isn't going to be defended. It's going to be part of this story.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I agree with Chen, but I also think that they're far too comfortable with their belts being tied up in nothing that they're not going to do that. Julia has been, milk carton level nowhere to be found since winning the US title, as far as in the ring goes.
Yeah.
Um, they've let Naomi vacated the title several weeks ago now. We don't even know what the match is for that one. And then Tiffany can always be found wrestling Nia Jax. So
Yeah.
um, basically, I I think they're going to want Becky out there with the belt on her shoulder, and
Yeah, because
they're also going
it's
to
part of the vision, right? Like it makes sense
yeah.
that they run the business.
Let's talk about Becky. So she had a defense against Nikki Bella yesterday, and we need to get into that and that match. And
Mhm.
I have some strong feelings about it. First, though, pairing with this AJ Lee thing, it gives her and Seth the chance to run back a on-screen pairing that was notably disastrous from 2019. And if you think I'm being harsh with notably disastrous, I got two things for you. Go back and watch it. And number two, they didn't like it either. They have both said that they didn't like how it went. So um, it was a tough time for business. Becky went into it the most over person in wrestling. That's not arguable. She went into it the most over person in wrestling, male, female, you know, indie, Japan, wherever in the world, she was the most over person in wrestling. They had kind of eroded it a little bit with the WrestleMania deal and how they got the second belt off of her, but she had started the year the most popular person in the sport. Um, so they're going to run it back this time as heels, but as part of a group now instead of a pairing. Um, you know, I may just have a bad taste in my mouth from how bad it went last time, but how do you think it's going to go?
Well, okay, yes, it sucked in 2019 because they were feuding with Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans, two people who are not with the company anymore. Um, and
Fair.
two people who I don't think, and I'm not being disrespectful, any wrestling fan would consider A-listers.
I like Baron Corbin, but Lacey had no business being in that.
But Baron Corbin at his peak is not an A-lister.
Correct. I mean, they tried. He's the last person to beat Kurt Angle. They tried,
Yeah,
but
he's
um,
Fredo. He's Fredo in The Godfather. But like to me, first off, Seth and Becky are I think they're both good heels. Now, I know a lot of people don't like Seth as a heel because he has the sing along. So it's like he's trying to be cool, so he's not really a heel. But I think Becky is a good heel. They're facing A-listers.
yeah.
All four of these individuals can talk. All four of these wrestlers have followings. All four of them have history with each other. And I know everybody's like, well, what's AJ and Becky's history? Well, it's obvious. When AJ accepted her last Slammy Award, she mentioned every name except Becky Lynch, Bailey, Sasha, whoever else. I mean, I don't know who else she mentioned, but she never mentioned Becky. And Becky can
Did she
say,
say Charlotte?
yeah, I don't know if she said Charlotte, but I know she said Sasha Bailey. But Becky can say, you, like everybody else, thought I was an afterthought, and I'm the biggest star of the four horsewomen. I make the most money. I'm in like this is a Becky thing. I have the bus, I have the plane, I have the hot husband, and I think this will be a good television feud. Do I think it's setting the women's division back? Yes. Do I think that AJ as a wrestler, I mean, the women's division has certainly picked up since AJ was on top. It's a much different world. But from four individuals with a microphone, this will be an entertaining feud because they're going to get deep with each other and personal. Now, I know that's uncomfortable for a lot of wrestling fans in 2025. Last night I spent, trying to go to sleep it was I was on the other side of town, and I was watching like all these promos from old WWE where people got real personal. And I think about these four, they're going to get personal with each other. They're going to make it uncomfortable. I think that's going to make good TV. Whether the match delivers, I don't know. Because I
Yeah.
haven't seen AJ, even at her peak, I think AJ, you take the best AJ Lee ever in the ring. I don't know if she's a top 30 wrestler today, if I'm being honest. I don't know if she's top,
Yeah,
but
AJ's
she,
calling card was selling
yeah.
her ass off, and I just don't know that it's the right thing to do to ask her to be that person now with the injuries she's had. Bring her back for a safe match by all means, but
Yeah.
what I recall her being great at was she was they weren't wrestling like modern day women back then yet, but she was selling like modern day women when she would
Yeah, yeah,
take
yeah,
spots. And I just don't think any of us want to see her put herself in harm's way like that. Like that's probably part of why she got hurt to begin with. She was throwing herself around, and um, that's a great transition. So for them to have a good match, Becky's going to have to lead it, and Becky's going to have to elevate the match, similar to what you would ask Becky to do in a Nikki Bella match. I would say mission unaccomplished yesterday. I I'm really annoyed that we continue to get, one women's match on, each PLE at best. Um, you know, I guess there have been two or whatever at best, but we got one on this one. Um, this might be Nikki Bella's last singles match on a PLE. I'm not saying it is, but it could be. It always could be. And there were a couple clips that set the internet ablaze yesterday. Um, and being from the Divas era, Nikki took the blame. And I'm here, I will unequivocally say right now, both of those spots were Becky's fault. And we're not on this show to talk about botches and stuff. That's not what we're here for. But I think it's important to defend Nikki. There's the kick spot. She's been doing that for over a decade. Becky turned the wrong way. Stuff happens. Then there's the table spot that didn't work. Came across a little hokey. Would you
yeah.
call it hokey?
I would say it's okay. Yeah,
So I was really unhappy. Becky is one of the biggest stars of all time. You're the
yeah.
only women's match on the card. You're a title holder. You're the work woman's title holder, by the way. The Intercontinental title, men, women, whatever. That's the worker belt. And she has been a worker all summer.
Mhm.
This was not her best effort. And I would have liked for her to have been more locked in for Nikki Bella. Nikki, for as little as she's been in the ring and how far away from her prime she is, I thought she put about as good of an effort yesterday. And it's unfair that the clip circulating for people who don't know is like, of course, you're going to get one of these in every Nikki Bella match. And it's like, it was not her fault.
Yeah. I rewatched the match a couple times. The first time I watched it, I didn't really know what to make of the match because I was like, okay. Then I rewatched it a couple times, so I've watched it 3 times, and yeah, like Nikki Bella worked hard. Like she was out there trying, like she really was, and Becky wasn't. And I don't know if Becky just had an off day. I don't know if Becky was more focused on, okay, how do I put on the ninja suit to make an appearance in the main event? I Becky and Nikki Bella are friends. They are good friends. They're not just like friends. Nikki Bella and Brie have talked about it on their podcast that she is looking forward to a Becky feud, that her and Becky have talked about it and this is something they have both wanted to do. If that's what Becky does for her friends, I shudder to think if she didn't like the person, what the performance would be. Because and I think Becky's one of the best women's wrestlers of all time. She's on my Mount Rushmore for women's wrestling, but that was not a signature performance from her, especially coming off the great matches she's had with Lyra, um, the stuff that she did pre-disappearing with Tiffany, with Trish, with Bianca. That was just not a good effort from her. And she's gonna have to take the critique here because I expect more out of Becky Lynch, personally.
When
As
you're the lead in the ring, yeah.
as a yes, in that sense, but I'm talking about I feel like Becky Lynch has reached a level that I expect her to go out there and give me, using a basketball analogy, at her worst, she's going to be 20 points, 10 assists, and 5 rebounds. Like,
Right.
that's the worst I'm going to get from her. And for me, I did not get that last night. What I got was somebody going through the motions. And it's unfair to Nikki, who probably trained really, really hard and worked really, really like worked herself to get back into the shape she's in so she can have this moment. Because we forget Nikki Bella comes from an era where women did not get these type of spotlights. They got
No,
2 minutes, they got 3 minutes, right? They never got the chance to work, work, work. And
I
I
know
look,
I didn't research this at all, but I would bet that that's her top 3 or 4 longest pay-per-view matches ever, singles.
might, yeah, might be number one.
Yeah.
I think I think Brie Bella has a longer match because she got Stephanie McMahon, so they're never going to cut a Stephanie McMahon match. But where I was a little disappointed is that it felt like to me after Becky nailed her with the whole John Cena thing and the crowd went crazy for her that this feud never really caught fire after that. It just kind of ruddered along. And the other thing is the crowd was cheering for Becky yesterday. So did that throw
Yeah.
Becky off? Because they were not behind Nikki Bella.
Well, so she did the Cena thing, which I always say, you spend too much time trying to be a cool heel, and oops, you undermine your baby face and get yourself over on accident. Say what you want, and this is a whole discourse we may not get, we'll get into a little bit in the show, but you know, Mercedes promo on Wednesday set the internet ablaze again, talking about, good promo, not good promo, all that stuff. She's not going out there trying to be beloved because that derails her current character. She can't ooh and ah everyone with the zinger lines too much because that's bad heel work. Um, so Becky hit her with the Cena line, which was classic 2017 Alexa Bliss. Then she derails the promo in England with the Ozzy Osbourne line, which was in poor taste. And oh, by the way, the WWE's thinking of apologizing. That's how bad it was. WWE doesn't apologize for anything, and they at least considered it on this.
They did.
And now you're in France, and the dynamics of the whole match are off. Um, I'm gonna put it like this: highest paid, one of the highest paid in the world, Mount Rushmore, still pretty much booked like she's in her prime. And I think she is in her prime. I mean, her ring work since having the baby is cleaner, better, and more consistent than it was prior to having the baby. So still in her prime. Heavy as the crown, right?
Heavy
You
is that. Where's the crown? Yeah.
Yeah, heavy as the head that wears the crown. It's Women's wrestling is still so fragile. And if you want to be the one who gets the only PLE match and you beat Lyra, who, by the way, everyone wants to say, she made Lyra. Lyra's off TV. And then this Nikki Bella feud looks to be a one and done, unless they do book a rematch for a Raw and have AJ cost her the title. It's going a week or two longer. She may double tap pin her, or could lose the belt if AJ got involved. But the whole point I'm getting at is this pay-per-view needed the women to have a good match. And that rests on Becky. When you're the champ, you're going to be wrestling rookies sometimes who are rookies or young women who are trying to get their first break, and you're going to be wrestling veterans trying to maybe make a last impression or get a next contract. And the Natty match wasn't good. The um
Maxine,
the what?
Maxine.
The Maxine match. Yeah, she put a
That
lot of
match I
effort
thought
in
was
for Maxine.
okay.
The Maxine match, if the Becky that showed up to try to make Maxine look good showed up for Nikki, the match would have been better. That's all we're saying. Capable, but she didn't bring that to the table in this match. And I don't know why. It's disappointing, but um if this is just her bouncing to a men's feud and this is kind of her last little work as the Intercontinental Champion for a couple months, it's disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about women's wrestling being fragile, and I think we can just pivot to this topic. It's fragile because of stuff like what happened yesterday, which is you have 6 matches. So now instead of the 5 match WWE pay-per-view, you got 6. And of the 6, they have one women's match. And okay, I can't argue against, like, if I was in a room with Triple H and I'm like, you know what? Of 6 matches, how dare you only give one woman's match? Da 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 da. And then he comes back to me and he says, okay, Raja, since you think you're so smart, which men's match are you taking off? So, okay. Roman Reed, you can't take that match off because A, Roman's the most over person in wrestling. Two, with those ticket prices, they want to see superstars. Roman Reigns is obviously the guy. Okay, fine.
100%.
Yeah, you gotta keep the match up. I don't know if it needed to go an hour, that whole thing, but okay. It's Cena's retirement tour, so him and Logan has to be on the card. Okay, so those 2 matches are set. The
Yep.
main event has an angle attached to it, which, oh, by the way, the biggest story coming out of it is going to be a woman. So those 3. Okay. Now, the tag match was awful. It was awful. It's honestly, it hurts me to what they've, and we don't talk about the men here, but they have ruined the Street Profits. They got to break them up at this point. They're not over. They're done. And the
I
Wyatts are nothing. Like they're not they're an entrance at this point.
I I I caught clips of this because I kind of was popping in for to see if the women were going to be on, and I'm the gear, everything, the look doesn't look right to me. And again, I've been disconnected, but they're wearing like basketball shorts with like jort print on them. It just
Ooh.
didn't like the Street Profits.
Yeah, yeah. No, Street Profits. They're
The
they're they're
gear
gross.
was weird. I just caught a glimpse of it and I'm like, are those jeans? But they were like, synthetic. It was weird. I don't know.
I've never seen them take a team that was organically over and say, you know what? Instead of just keeping them where they are, let's just ruin them. Like it's
Yeah,
it's like it's legit sabotage. But okay, so that match sucked. The tag match was bad. So you could have a woman's match in the place of that.
for sure.
Okay. Now, the blogs all are saying Sheamus and Rusev was the best match on the show. And it probably was. To be honest, and being fair here, it probably was the best match on the show. But neither of them to me are over enough to justify them being in that spot over Io or Rhea.
Right.
Like, of the roster, other than Roman Reigns and John Cena, who the hell, male or female, are more over than Rhea and Io?
I got a no one, and I got a fun one for you. Who, off top of your head, who's the most misogynistic commentator, podcast guy left in wrestling? Who would you say gives the women the least amount of credit?
Booker T? No, I don't know. Let me think.
Cornette.
Oh, you're talking. Okay, you're not talking about actual WWE talent.
I'm talking about who is the
Okay,
the least believer in women as a draw in wrestling.
Vince Russo.
Vince Russo. Perfect.
Yeah.
So you go to Vince Russo and you say, Vince, I'd like to make a bet with you. You don't think women's wrestling draws, correct? He says, correct. You say, I want to bet you any amount of money you pick. I get Rhea Ripley, you get Rusev and Sheamus. If Rusev and Sheamus main event WrestleMania before Rhea, you win. if Rhea main events first, I win. He does not believe in women as a draw. He doesn't take that bet in any amount, correct?
No. And
He
and
doesn't take that as a $5 bet. He doesn't take it as a $500 bet.
and you mentioned him earlier, and to be fair, and I hate giving him his due, Jim Cornette has long said Rhea's like the big star. Like he has long
He
said
he
Rhea is like
he
this.
completely crapped on Mercedes on his last podcast. I didn't even.
Yeah, I am not going to listen
He's
to his negative comments, but
yeah.
I okay, not to deviate here. Mercedes had the match with Bianca Belair. And the other guy on the show was like, "Hey, this is a really, really good match." Like, and this is why a lot of people, including myself, think Mercedes is the best women's wrestler in the world. And Cornette goes, "Yeah, but she's never wrestled Rhea Ripley or Charlotte Flair." And I'm like, "What? She's never wrestled Charlotte Flair? They spent a whole year on TV wrestling each other." So my point is, he doesn't really know, but he's always long said that only Charlotte and Rhea Ripley are draws and that all the other women aren't, which is
It was a
factually,
very misinformed quote, which is why I paid no attention
yeah,
to it.
yeah.
It's like clear he hasn't watched her
But at
wrestle, but
least
yeah.
even as awful as he is, and it pains me because growing up, I was always big on managers. Managers were my faves because I always thought if I could ever get into wrestling, I would be a manager. You know, I'm not athletic enough to be a wrestler. I wanted to be Bobby Heenan or Jim Cornette or Paul Heyman. Like I wanted to have the microphone in my hand and talk. So it pains me that Jim Cornette has become such a just a misogynistic, almost creep. But at least he even acknowledges Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
Vince Russo, he's like the worst of the worst. But you're right, he wouldn't take the bet. Back to our world. I just don't know how in 2025 you can justify Sheamus Rusev being on any event over Io and Rhea. I don't know how you can do that. Or Stephanie. I don't know how you can do that. Like Io and Stephanie and Rhea are legitimate draws, legitimate Netflix minutes draws, TV draws. Stephanie was the reason CW was laughing all the way to the bank with their ratings. Okay, Sheamus and Rusev had a good match. But again, I'm going to be fair. I got to be fair. Wrestling is not just about having that good match. The characters have to be over. And these two guys have had 27 matches. And nobody's cared about any of them. It's like the worst. Like when they come on my screen, I'm like, okay, I'm out of here. And actually, when they came on my screen, I went and started to clean my girlfriend's car. And then I went back and I watched the match. I'm like, oh, this match was actually pretty good, but I don't care.
How was the crowd during it? Did they care?
They were into, yeah, because they're using weapons and they're using
Yeah.
their stunts, right? So people are going to be into those matches, but like,
You know what? The counter argument would be it was a great match and they used weapons and the crowd liked it. And the counter argument would be um for the other match would be that you got to have your men's tag titles on the card sometimes. And then my counter argument would be stop booking 5 and 6 match cards. Roman Reigns was out there for 57 minutes.
it was, yeah.
So either go 15 minutes longer and give us a nice, tidy 12-minute Rhea Ripley match against literally anyone. You don't even have to. The type of prices they're charging, just have her music hit and have her come out and
Well,
be like, I flew all the way to France. I'd like to beat, I want to wrestle. Have anyone come out.
there
Ivy
were
Nile.
but there were people who were legitimately mad that Stephanie, they were all excited. This was going to be Stephanie's like pay-per-view coming out party because originally she was going to fight Naomi.
She was the
And I
first talent announced for this card.
Yeah, she was. Look, if you have Roman Reigns and John Cena on a card, I get it. You're going to be like, well, what are you guys complaining about? You have Roman Reigns and John Cena on the same card. But here's the truth about 2025 professional wrestling, and it's something that we have a podcast because of it. There is a segment of professional wrestling fans who only watch for the women. And I
Yep.
know for the Jim Cornettes and for the Vince Russos and even Dave, Uncle Dave, and even Probably Tony Khan. And I think Tony's done a lot of good stuff. There's a segment of that older wrestling kind of booker that doesn't believe that still, even though the numbers are in front of them and the data is in front of them. And the crowd reactions that Rhea and Io get are more than any men except Roman Reigns, right? And Cena. And I'm putting Io in there because I did not realize how popular Io has become. Like I had no idea. And I'm as big a fan of hers as anybody, and I love Io. But like to see little kids like crying to meet her, I was like, whoa, okay, we are in a different stratosphere here. Good.
You're right though. You nailed it. I said Rhea Ripley just because she's the biggest star, but both of us understand business, come from
Yeah.
backgrounds where we work for companies that have to make customers happy. The right thing to do for your customers was to send Stephanie out there, cut a fun little 30-second promo about, she was told she was going to fight in Paris and she wants to fight in Paris. She flew all the way out here because even if there's 10 people in that crowd that paid for a ticket because of Stephanie, they deserve to see her wrestle because she was the first person announced. Um, and you could have done who has she been wrestling? Ivy on main event.
I
Who'd she
know.
wrestle on main event?
Ivy. Ivy now.
You could have done a 12-minute match with Ivy and Stephanie, and it would have been good fun. And um, yeah,
Why couldn't the Io, Rhea, Asuka, Kyrie thing, once they knew Naomi was out of the picture, why couldn't they have sped the thing along to at least have some kind of match? Like, and I understand they have it just to me, not having Io or Rhea on a PLE in 2025 is malpractice. It's
yeah.
malpractice because let's be honest here. These are and again, I know Bianca gets inserted because of the three-way, and she should be. And Naomi as a character, I put her above anybody in WWE this year as a character. She's been fantastic, but she's having a baby and deservedly so. She's taking the time off. Io and Rhea have carried, in my opinion, the company. I mean, they have carried the company because to me, they have been the most compelling thing on the TV.
Yep.
And they're the most over talent, and people love them, and people go crazy for them. And Stephanie is in that group too. And not and look, is it so much of a hot take for me to say that in 2025, Rhea Ripley, Io are more popular than Becky Lynch? Is that a hot take in 2025?
I don't think it is.
So to me, like not having them on, it's I understand with Roman Reigns because he's shooting a movie and stuff. And if you tell me tomorrow Rhea is in a movie or Io's in a movie, I'll shut up. But I know they're not because Io is flashing pictures of her shopping at Chanel in Paris. And we can talk about this very briefly. There's a horrific video with Rhea Ripley on the internet. Horrific, which is, I think she's going to her car and she was mobbed by a
She's
bunch of
getting picked up by an Uber or something. Yeah.
Uber, and a bunch of male wrestling fans are like in her face, snapping pictures and like smothering her. And it's a very scary, unfortunate thing.
Not snapping pictures like over their shoulder from 10 feet away, which is still a little weird, but literally cornered her in between the car and like six of them, way closer than you would stand to any human being you don't know. Like like in her bubble and completely inappropriate behavior. Um WWE, they want to say they're bigger than they ever were, then grow up to the big leagues and protect your talent. You want to say you're the biggest you've ever been, protect your talent. Wrestlers generally travel in packs just to keep themselves safe and out of trouble. Should that be the case for a billion-dollar company like WWE?
I saw that Roxanne has security
After.
after. So is it
It was
something?
after.
Yeah, yeah. So is if it if okay, look, if it took this Rhea video to get them to give all of their talent security, okay, fine. Like it sucks that it took that type of a video to make this happen because there have been threats on wrestlers. Mandy and Sonya, had the stalker. Like there has been evidence that this should have always been in place. But okay, if going forward now I see security with all the talents, I'm not, this isn't a dead issue at this point. But I will say this. I'm going to go a little bit of a story here. So 20 years ago, when I was working in the music business, and I got to meet a lot of famous people, interview a lot of famous people. Two things that stuck out to me. I was really comfortable around these rappers and these musicians. And one of the reasons they were always very comfortable around me, and one of them told me this, and this happens to be one of the biggest rap stars of all time. He said, "Look, the one thing I like about you is you're not like a groupie. Like you're just being yourself. You like the music, you know about the music, you know about the stuff, and you're knowledgeable. But you're like a somebody that if we grew up in the same neighborhood, we'd be friends kind of thing." Because I always prided myself on never wanting to take pictures. Like I could have had so many more pictures in my life with the most famous people, but I didn't because I hated that whole these are zoo animals and I'm like invading their space and not making them feel like they're human. They put on their pant leg one leg at a time like I do. Like they have a different job and a different occupation, but that doesn't mean that they don't get human privileges. Like they're not animals, right?
Yeah.
And I remember having this conversation with this person, and they were very respectful of me, and they were very happy of how I approached things. So I always took that as, okay, I'm on the right path. Like that's why I don't go up to wrestlers. I have seen wrestlers like, I might have told the story on the podcast. Like I was working out at a gym in Chicago, Rockford, Illinois, to be specific, and I saw Jeff Jarrett, Kurt Angle, Rhino, Mr. Kennedy in the same gym because they were getting ready for a TNA show. And I did not ask for one picture. I did not ask for one selfie or any of that stuff. I just talked to them about my love of wrestling, and that was it. And the reason is because I just think that and then so the other thing I want to talk about or say is one of the quotes that sticks with me from rap music is from Wu-Tang. It's specifically Jizza. He says, I'm sweating cream, I ain't sweating the fame. Cream is cash rules everything around me. And I'm with him on that. I don't want to be famous. I have no problem being as wealthy as I can be, but I want to be like oblivious to fame. Fame is a bad drug. It causes a lot of problems because people can't live normal life. What I
Hmm.
saw with Rhea Ripley, that's not normal. And Rhea Ripley isn't making like LeBron James, Steph Curry, Novak Djokovic money where she can hire her own personal security even if they don't want to provide it to them because they have that kind of money. And I remember interviewing a very famous rapper. This is my second story. We'll pivot back. And I was at his house interviewing him. And at the time, he was dating a very famous R&B singer. I mean, she's still famous. I'm not going to name names. I don't do that. He said, "Okay, we got to go to the mall, Phipps Plaza. If you've ever been to Atlanta, there's Lenox Square. Across the street, there's Phipps Plaza. It's the higher end mall. It has like the Gucci store, Nordstrom, Neiman Marcus, etc." And we're driving, and I'm thinking, oh, he's just going to pull up to the front and go through the mall. No, he went to the delivery area and went through the delivery service entrance because he's like, I don't want people to see me. Because if they see me, they're going to delay my day because they're going to want pictures, they're going to want to talk, demos, whatever. And I'm thinking, this is 20 years ago, Raja. man, it's kind of a selfish thing. Like these are the people who make you what you are. Like they're the ones who buy your music. They're the ones who spend money on you. And he said, "Listen, I make music, so they buy it. I'm very thankful. I'm grateful for them, but I'm not an indentured servant to them. It doesn't mean because you buy my music, you get to invade my space. It doesn't mean that you get to basically monopolize my personal time. Like, I'm going to the mall to buy shoes for my girlfriend. I do not need to be delayed by an hour by you rapping in front of me. And I took that away and I'm like, okay, he's right. Like, and so my point to all these wrestling fans who do this, and it's embarrassing because you make all of us look bad. And we as two, individuals who want to be positive for this space, it's hard to even explain sometimes that you are a wrestling fan when videos like this make its way to the internet because it's disgraceful and we got to be better as fans. We got to be better.
We do, and kind of the cherry on top that I'll throw on there is what's crazy about this. Wrestlers are some of the most accessible, famous people in the world during proper accessibility times. And what I mean by that is LeBron James ain't signing up for a meet and greet. Just never going to happen. Novak Djokovic not signing up for a meet and greet. Rafael Nadal, no meet and greet. Serena Williams not doing a meet and greet. Rhea Ripley does meet and greets where you can meet her. Becky Lynch does meet and greets where you can meet her. AEW stars do meet and greets, maybe not, not even necessarily AEW branded, but some of the Comic Con things out there. Most famous wrestlers have 1 to 3 to 4 to 5 dates a year where you can go meet them under a scenario where they want to meet you. And yes, does it cost money? Sure, it does. But that is the right place to go try and meet one of your heroes. Meeting them outside of their hotel and their airport is weird behavior and not the right thing at all. I wouldn't dare try to even, meeting them on the way into the arena or out and being respectful, sure, but everywhere else should be off limits.
Yeah. Look, 8 years ago, Mercedes went on Sam Roberts' podcast and said this, right? Hey,
Yep.
I have meet and greets, cool. In front of the arena, cool. But at my hotel, at the airport, at a store, it's not cool. Because there are places and proper protocols for you. And when she said this, people lost their mind. And I tweeted this. You had Chris Masters, whatever, said she's such a diva. Bully Ray said she should worry about when fans don't notice her at the airport, not when they do. Tony Atlas, oh, she's inconsequential and irrelevant or whatever. And look, she was right. 8 years ago, she was correct. And now there's this huge outrage because of this Rhea video. But where was the outrage when people were waiting in front of Mercedes's hotel at SummerSlam 2017, which is why, I got the story from somebody who was at SummerSlam that year. That some of the boos for Mercedes that night were because they saw her, look, a pocket of them. They saw her getting pizza and she wouldn't like take pictures with them or wouldn't sign for them because she's like, hey, I'm getting my food, right? And they were like, oh, she's so hard to deal with. She's so tough. And they put this on message boards and it permeated and it got out there. Well, now we look 8 years later, she was 100% correct. And now
Yeah.
it's this outrage because of Rhea and Punk is talking about it. But the truth is, it was wrong then, it's wrong now. Like, do better. And yeah, these meet and greets are not cheap. But you know what? If so, we're both football people, and I know this. Like when Jalen Hurts did an autograph signing in Philly, I thought about getting on a plane and going to meet him, but I couldn't swing it. And it was like $350, and you got one autograph. And if you
Right.
wanted to get like a picture too, it costed more, but people paid. People can spend their money on whatever they want to spend their money on. It's their choice. And Punk was right when he cut the pipe bomb promo. Hey, you're at the airport wanting me to sign that collector's cup that you sell on eBay. That's also part of the story. Like, people aren't doing this for the goodness of collecting. They're doing this to make a buck, and now it makes it even more intrusive. And I just think that WWE needs to provide security for these wrestlers everywhere, and especially the women. Because,
Yeah.
go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, they're far away from home. I mean, I'm sure where they live, they have their comfort spaces and all that. But when they're out there on the road, um, they definitely need to be protected and have security. And there's no excuse, really.
Look, man, this ain't the 80s. And in the 80s, fans would never dare do this to like Ravishing Rick Rude. Like, I couldn't imagine in the 80s a fan trying to do this to Rick Rude. They get beat up. And
Yep,
they might even get shot. Because,
yep.
Rick Rude was very famous for carrying his gun on him. And like, the thing is, Rhea's she seems like such, I don't know her obviously, but she seems like such a great person. And she seems
E
very appreciative of all the fanfare and notoriety.
Even her message condemning it was probably sweeter than she needed to be. She seems like a very, very good person.
Yeah.
She tweeted something basically, I had a just a real scary moment, please don't do that. And like she could have been way more.
Well, she's told the story that she was out of town and on her Ring camera, a fan showed up at her door.
Yeah.
That's scary. And honestly, like, I know, whoever listens to this podcast, they're probably not the ones doing this. But if our message can get out there as wrestling fans, understand that these are performers, they are human beings, they have a right to their private space in life. And, like, leave them alone. Like, there are proper protocols to get autographs, pictures. It's
Yeah.
not when they're at a restaurant eating with their family. It's not.
Right.
Yeah, just to put a bow on this, please respect the wrestler's privacy, respect their personal space. There are times and places to ask for autographs, for pictures. Dinner time isn't one of them. If they're out and about with their family, that's not one of them. Be respectful. These are
Yep.
humans. Yes, they perform. I'm sure they're all very happy that they get cheered, but there's a time and a place. So I'm gonna kind of pivot it over to you. What did you think of the non-WWE women's stuff this week?
Yeah, probably something that we can get into next week, but for a long while there, we were saying AEW is doing a great job with time on pay-per-views expanding for women, but not doing enough non-pay-per-view storyline stuff, whereas WWE was doing a lot of non-pay-per-view storyline stuff, but we weren't getting the matches on PLE. AEW is, we got women's time than usual on Forbidden Door. We even got unscheduled women's time on Forbidden Door, which was cool, right? You had the Tekla Queen Aminata brawl that had Jamie Hayter coming back. They're doing a pretty good job building out the women's world in AEW. You've got the Triangle of Madness stood tall on Collision this week, beat up Tony Storm, um, Queen Aminata. And you know, you got Tekla and Jamie Hayter brawled backstage. You got Megan Bain, you know, doing a lot of stuff. Um, all three belts are pretty much where they've been, right? Tony's the champion, Mercedes is the TBS champion, Athena is the ROH champion, which we'll get to in a second. Um, but Mina's been very active. They're doing a very good job getting the women on TV. I'd love for it to start to lead to 3 and 4 women's matches on pay-per-view being the norm. Um, and we have a good chance for that with All Out. So Madness stood tall. Mercedes and Alex Windsor feud is continuing. Um, Alex called her out on Saturday after Mercedes kind of talked some mess on Wednesday, and they're having their match this coming Wednesday at on Dynamite. If that opens the show or closes the show with 20 minutes, that's going to be a very, very, very good match. So AEW women's division is really set up in a good way. I think we're going to get blood and guts for women. I don't know that the champions will be involved, and I think that's fantastic. I don't think they need to be involved. They're building up enough on the undercard. Harley Cameron in there. Harley and Chris are teaming now
Mm-hmm.
with Willow. Kind of came out as a third for them. So there's a lot going on. Picture has not become clear yet, but they've got they're doing a better job of getting a lot more women on TV and creating that universe where everything's connected.
I think Chris is going to join the Death Riders. I think she eventually turns on Harley. Moxley got her money.
Yep,
That was a good little touch. I want to give Mina, Shirakawa, and Athena major kudos. They had a
huge.
killer main event, Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor. As somebody called it, the happy accident, which is the streaming was so bad that Tony had to put it on YouTube for free, which could have turned out to be the best thing for him because so many more people watched this event than normally would have ordered it or had the honor pass. And honestly, Mina and Athena killed it. And for those listeners of this show know, I'm not Athena's biggest fan as a character, but I'll never take away her in-ring ability. She's a fantastic wrestler. And honestly, this is probably the best Mina match I've seen since the match she had with Mayu Iwatani. I know people are going to say the Mercedes match. I think the Mayu Iwatani Mina match was better. I think that the Athena Mina match was better than the Mercedes Mina match. So to me, this is the second best match I've ever seen out of Mina Shirakawa. And I think this could be the third best match I ever seen out of Athena. The Asuka one is the best, and then the Mercedes one is second, and this is number three. And I think that it speaks to the depth of the women's talent in AEW, and that they have a very capable women's division. And I was super stoked at how good that match was. Didn't think it could be that good. It was great. Loved it.
I loved it too. If you haven't watched it, everything's up for free on YouTube, right? So go back and watch it. Um, I think most people would agree it's a top 5 match for Athena. The other good one, and I need to go rewatch it because I've seen it twice, but it's been a minute. Death Before Dishonor also, Athena has a really, really great match with Willow from 2 years back. Um, that maybe I didn't like as much in the moment because I really wanted Willow to win, right? That was the year that she had beat Mercedes when Mercedes got hurt. And my takeaway from that match was, what are you doing, Tony? Willow should have won. Put the rocket on her instead of just appreciating the match. So that's the other one in the argument. This one's fantastic. It's my favorite Mina match in North America for sure, for sure. Um, props to Athena. It's about as good of a match as you can get. She was 4 or 5, 6 days away from being 1,000-day champion. she wasn't losing here, but they did as good of a job as you could do for getting that crowd invested in Mina winning. I thought Mina working the legs, working the knee. Um, Honestly, that's about as good as anybody has worked a figure four leg lock nation since. I mean, I'm not trying to bag on Charlotte, but one of the things is, she doesn't work the legs enough for the figure four, the figure eight for her. And I guess it's devastating enough just because she does the prop up into the figure eight instead of the four. But I really love the psychology of Mina working the leg all match. It helped you believe that Athena may actually tap because her legs were getting just crushed the whole match. Um, I really liked it. It was my favorite maybe match of the month, probably. I mean, and they got put in the main event, and uh, Bandito's title defense was for many people a match of the year candidate, maybe the match of the year front runner. And though this match wasn't necessarily better for most people, it was good enough that nobody's like, "Oh my God, how could you main event that over Bandito?" It held its own against a match of the year candidate. It was great. So kudos
Yeah.
to both of them.
So shout out, I'm going to shout out Victor, who runs the wrestling club. Everybody knows who this is. Obviously, if you listen to this podcast, he has his school teacher has his kids watching wrestling as part of, like, I guess, an
Re-
extracurricular activity. He said Bandito is the wrestler of the year. And I thought about it and I was like, I can't really argue with that fact. Bandito's been on fire and really rescued the Ring of Honor division from the walls of Jericho. He's been he's been phenomenal. I mean, he is definitely the male wrestler of the year for sure. I think this is a year where legitimately two or three or four women have a case at wrestler of the year. But I think if it was just male wrestler of the year, I think he's already won the award. Like, I think
yeah,
he's already the guy. So the other match I want to talk about before we get to our top five is, so I discovered this weekend that Marigold has a subscription service. I did not know this. I am serious about this. Like, I was not aware. And somebody sent me the link, and I'm like, wait, I can watch Marigold? That means I can watch my Iotani matches again? And they're like, yeah, it's here. And I said, okay. So I watched my Iwatani against Utami in the, I guess, the Grand Prix tournament match. It was 15 minutes. This match was fantastic. Now, yes, there were some ref mishaps that took away from the match for sure. But just these two women, they were beating the tarp out of each other. And I think it's a stylistic thing. And I realized it, like, watching this match, like, if you love Joshi women's wrestling, it's going to be hard ever for you to take a Mercedes or a Becky Lynch or a Roxanne and put them above the Joshi women because it's stylistically so different. Mayu and Utami, I really didn't know if it was a real fight or they were wrestling. Like, that's how hard they were hitting each other.
yeah.
And for some people, that's an uncomfortable style of wrestling to watch. Quite honestly, like Bret Hart, probably, if I showed him that match, he'd be like, "No, this isn't good. I don't like this." Like, they're trying to hurt each other.
They're hurting each other, right?
Right. I loved this match for one reason and one reason only. They finally used the time limit draw as what it should be used for. Two even folks fighting, and they just couldn't beat each other. Like, not everybody always has to win or lose or be a
Yep.
DQ finish. I love that it was 15 minutes and that, now what's going to probably end up happening is Mayu's going to win the next three matches and she's going to end up winning this tournament or at least getting into the finals against Utami. But let me tell you something, man. She gets a lot of flack, and rightfully so, by the way. Rightfully so. Mayu has been The reports are out there. Very tough to do business with. Marches to the beat of her own drummer. But she could be as gifted a women's wrestler as there ever has been. She is unbelievable.
Yeah, I enjoyed this match more than I normally enjoy um Mayu matches recently because she wasn't in Terminator mode. She sold her ass off. I don't think Utami gave her a choice. Maybe Utami said, you're gonna sell because I'm gonna hit you, like maybe it wasn't selling, maybe it was pain. I What's crazy is Mayu, and then back to the Athena Mina match. Both Mayu and Mina took some of the toughest looking powerbomb bumps I've seen in a minute. Um, where you were genuinely worried that their head hit the canvas. But I enjoyed the match. I love the time limit draw. Um, I think Mayu would be a bigger star if she was willing to do business more, like you just alluded to. And maybe as she progresses in her career, someone will get her there. We've talked about it before, but beating Mercedes at All Star Grand Queendom, and then ultimately they had to pivot because Mayu didn't want to do another match, and that's where the NJPW Strong title came from, and Mercedes ended up getting hurt. There's a butterfly effect or sliding doors version of that where Mayu wins, Mercedes wins a rematch, and you have a trilogy that could main event in Tokyo Dome if they go a different path. And that's what we mean by like Mayu could be bigger if she was willing to do business in that
Or
way.
or the original plan, which is Mayu beats Kyrie, goes to San Jose, loses to Mercedes. Mercedes goes back to Japan, loses to Mayu, and then they have the part three, and who knows who wins that match. But look, there's Undertaker Mayu, there's Terminator Mayu, there's like she's very much the female Okada that if she's into it, she's as good as anybody that's ever laced up a pair of
Yeah,
wrestling boots. But when she's not into it, you can clearly tell. And I know you love the Mercedes match, and you
I
really,
do. She sold it. She was into it. She did just should have
but
been longer.
like when I watch Mayu wrestle Io, or I watch Mayu wrestle Saray, or it's like I get a little like I felt like to your point, like yeah, she did sell for the 12 minutes of that match was, but like the fact that Mercedes, who never, ever, ever says, I won't wrestle this person if you give me a bag of money, right? Like, because Mercedes is like, hey, if the finances are right, I'll wrestle anywhere. She has proven this. The one person she has always put on her social media she will not wrestle again is Mayu. So something clearly happened in that match or leading up to the match that causes Mercedes, who's about business, not to work with this person. And I don't blame Mercedes because I went back and I watched all the footage of that feud. Mercedes did all the work. Mayu did not do anything leading up to it. And then she just won the
Yeah.
match.
Yeah, and I just think we want to focus on Mayu had a great match with Utami.
She's
I
great.
think
Yeah.
I think the difference between the way Mercedes sees the business and Mayu, because of a bad experience in the US, is just very protective. And Mercedes' last match, the four way, no matter what you felt about it, Mercedes went in there and allowed herself to get thrown around. And so I just think that they look at them. I think they look at putting a match together and doing business differently. And I think if Mayu, as she ages, can open herself up to being a little bit more vulnerable in the ring because she is so talented, it could only create a bigger mystique for her, actually, where you could sell vulnerability. Undertaker had to look vulnerable sometimes. You can't sell invincibility this deep into someone's career. You can sell invincibility at the beginning of a career, but it only lasts so long. And she's been around too long. Invincibility at this point is just a lack of doing business with someone.
Yeah.
Invincibility works when you're a 3-year-old, Asuka, coming to the America, invincibility works. Invincibility works when you're Bill Goldberg back in the 90s. Invincibility works if you're The Undertaker in 1991, but it only lasts so long.
I want to do this before we get to our top five. I want to give some flowers to, again, it's an argument, but in my opinion, the best wrestler, which is Io. We long give a lot of credit, rightfully so, by the way, to the two women behind you about how many wrestling daughters they have.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to the Utami Mayu commentary closely. And you know what I realized? Io has as many wrestling daughters as they do, but she never gets the credit for it. So I'm going to give her the credit. Mayu, Azumi, Starlight Kid. I'm missing somebody here. Hazuki. All of these women were inspired by a very young 16-year-old Io Shirai who started wrestling at 16 and got all of them to want to wrestle. And her lineage for the Joshi wrestlers is just as great as the American women who Sasha and Bailey have inspired. So I want to shout out Io, who I know maybe I don't give as much love as I should. I'm kidding about that, by the way. Io is the greatest. So yeah, I just wanted to do that.
I didn't realize I thought Mayu had been wrestling just as long as Io, honestly.
No, Mayu came a little after Io, but remember, Io started very young. Io started
Yeah,
at 16. So that's why. If you look at Io's age, Io's, 34. So you'd be like, no, Mayu's not that much younger than her, right? But it's when Io started. So
got it.
I just wanted to give her kudos to that. But now we are coming to our top five. And so this has been a home run segment, tons of great feedback, tons of great future topics. And, this is one that early on when we put it out there, people wanted to know because this is a good one. And so this week we are going to unveil, in our opinions, our top five women's entrance themes, songs, music of all time. And we did not discuss any of our lists with each other. This is completely, the first time Billy is going to see my list and I'm going to see his list.
Yep.
And this is one that people are frothing at the mouth to see. So last week I started. This week you're going to start. Why don't you take us through, your top five, and obviously you're probably going to give us honorable mentions.
I am going to give honorable mentions. I'm going to give one honorable mention now, and I think it'd be cheating to do my other honorable mentions because I don't want to eat up what might be on your list, might or might not be on your list. I'd like to give the rest of my honorable mentions after you go, or else I'll just say 10 songs and that will just kind of be unfair. So, what I did take into consideration was for me as a wrestling fan, if the crowd doesn't know you're coming out within a second or two at the most of your song, you're off the list.
Okay.
I need recognition and pop immediately. Um, then the way that the song carries through the entrance, how it adds to, as the kids would say, your aura as you come out was part of my consideration. And this may be controversial, but it's important to me, and it was kind of a tiebreaker for me. I know it's entrance music, but the way the song adds to big moments when you win, I think matters as well too.
Okay.
I picture someone in the ring getting the belt for the first time or after a long, hard fought match, and what that song does matters. So, the one honorable mention I'm going to give ahead of time, and I'll block the rest of them.
All right.
Money by Mercedes Moné. is my honorable mention, and I put DNQ here. Did not qualify. She didn't use this song long enough for me to put it in the all-time top 5. But I will say this. No one ever gone to the ring with more swag or aura ever than she did using this song during her NJPW run. The All-Star Grand Queendom entrance to me is the most iconic entrance in the history of her career. And if she used this song more, I think it would be a slam dunk #1. It's my favorite version of her coming to the ring. Not because the other versions are not great, as you will see, but yeah, I couldn't rank it because she only came to the ring with it, I want to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. 6 times because she came out once and didn't wrestle. But my all-time favorite. All right, staying on the same topic. So, number 5, Mercedes Moné. I am giving her credit for she's actually in the song. None of my other top 5 has the person in their song. The chant, the immediate recognition. I think this would rank higher with the WWE crowd, if I'm being honest, because you see the way that the Rev Pro and the NJPW crowds react to it. The AEW crowd sometimes does and sometimes doesn't. I see how over Jey Uso is. And I can't help but think that this song would be incredibly over in an alternate universe where she's the CEO, Sasha Banks, and this song was her, reformed entrance music, kind of like what Becky just got. It would be astronomical. So, spoiler alert, this is the only non-WWE one out here. I think it's the best non-WWE entrance ever. Number 4, I will tell you that 2, 3, and 4 I shuffled 5, 10 times over the last 3 days. These are backwards, right? As you see them.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know how to write it backwards. Celtic Invasion, Becky Lynch. Of the first 10 seconds of the song, I had her at number 2 for a second for the first 10 seconds. Immediate crowd recognition, as over as anyone's ever been. The whoa whoa whoas are very, very fun, but there's not a lot of meat in the middle of this song. And when it's playing off a pay-per-view, it's kind of just there. So I ultimately settled at number 4. I also don't think she's ever been able to build a spectacular entrance around it. Whereas my number 3, Bianca Belair, Watch Me Shine, has some of the greatest entrances in history built around that song. The hair whip, the immediate beat that people recognize, and then the color guard and girls dancing that she's been able to do, I think makes it an iconic entrance. I went back and watched her beat Sasha Banks at WrestleMania. That theme playing over her elated in the ring, I actually just gave myself goosebumps. Is one of my favorite moments. Crazy how much, for a fandom that is in our head about how much we love watching Sasha Banks and Mercedes Moné lose when it's the right thing. But that's one of my favorite moments.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, Demon in Your Dreams, Rhea Ripley.
Okay.
I had this at number 4 or 5 for a minute. I rewatched a bunch of entrances last night. I might be a prisoner of the moment, but she's so over.
Mm-hmm.
I also happen to like heavy metal music as a person, so this does something for me. And then I like where they pull into the song when she wins matches, the way that it plays her off winning matches. So I think that there's a couple levels there. And again, I could talk myself into the other 2 being ahead of it, but that's where I ultimately landed on. Number 1.
We know which number 1 yours is.
Number 1 is I didn't consider original and remix separately. So let me say that I bucketed everything because Rhea, whether people know it or not, there's 2 versions of Demon in Your Dreams. They've tweaked it. I kind of put everything into one bucket. Sky's the limit, Sasha Banks / remix. I will actually say that the original version is my preferred. I
Mm.
studied all week. Nadia, shout out to you. You'd be very proud of me. But the sky's the limit playing while a babyface Sasha Banks, who just got her ass beat for 20 minutes, pulled out a victory in the ring. Um, the lyrics and everything, nothing's better than watching a babyface elated winning a title. That's the crowning song for me ever. I picture her matches over Charlotte Flair, her first title win, and a couple other ones after. So, "Sky's the Limit" by Sasha Banks is, or for Sasha Banks, is my number one.
All right. So what's great about this list for both of us, it's totally different.
Is it good?
We have two of the same five,
Nice.
but not even close to where they are in terms of ranking. Now, I'm going to go through
Okay.
my criteria and I'm going to list all of my honorable mentions to get it out of the way. Okay. So the
Okay.
criteria I had, synonymous with act. When you think this song, does the character pop in your head? Okay.
Yep.
Number two, the crowd pop. When
Yep.
a note or a bar plays, how loud does the crowd get? Number three, can I listen to this while I work out? Walk my dogs. Okay, if I can't do it, you didn't make my list. Number four, can I play it around non-wrestling fans? And can they then say, oh, this is kind of a bop? Because if I can only play it around wrestling fans, you're not on my list.
So Becky's not on your list.
Becky is not on my list. Becky is an honorable mention, though. So here are my honorable mentions. By the way, the other two Mercedes themes didn't even register on my list. You know, I have Crisscross's Jump on my playlist, and I have the Jackson 5 song on my playlist. So I don't need the kind of retread bootleg Ohio Players Funky Worm. But here are my six honorable mentions. Spiteful, Alexa Bliss. The original one, the Dennett, Dennett, Dennett.
Yeah.
That is synonymous with her. Crowd pops. I don't know if I could work out to it, and I can't play it in a car, so I didn't make it. Celtic Invasion, we already talked about it. That's on my list of honorable mention. Here's a shocker, especially coming from me, but one of my favorite women themes of all time didn't make my list, but it's honorable mention. Free the Flame, Amber Moon. I loved her entrance music. In fact, I think it's the only thing good about what she did in WWE other than the Oscar match. Number four, we talked about her at the beginning of the podcast, but it is very synonymous with her. Light It Up for AJ Lee. It's very synonymous with her. And when you hear that, people go crazy. Number five, I'm shocked you did not have this one. Dream Again, Timeless Tony Storm. How many women's themes are as synonymous as Timeless Tony Storms with her? When you hear that kind of Warner Brothers entrance, it's like boom. And
Yeah. Maybe it
number,
doesn't register for me the same way you don't like the Monet one, because I just think of Warner Brothers, and it doesn't, like if I heard that out, I wouldn't think of Tony Storm. I'd think of like a movie theme, so it's a confusion piece.
so number six, we also talked about this woman on our show this week. I think Nikki Bella has one of the most signature themes when it relates to the character. You
Yeah.
can, but you can't touch. And a lot of people outside of wrestling know that theme because of the success of Total Divas and Total Bellas. So those are my six honorable mentions. They did not make it.
None of my honorable mentions made your honorable mentions, so either they made your list or I am also the only one pointing them out. So that's good.
I'm gonna show the board after, but number five is Watch Me Shine. Composed by the CFO's Bianca Belair. I think it is a great theme that I love as just a song. You know, I'm on my own. again, like I love
Yeah.
it. It fits her character. The way she skips out to it and does the hair break, I love it. That's number five. Number four is your number one. OG, Sky's the limit. OG, Sky's the limit. You know, you
Yeah.
know, had a dream, like it's one of the catchier themes of all time.
And when she wins a match and it goes straight to the lyric piece, it's perfect.
And I've been in audiences many, many times, and people always pop for this song. And it is definitely one of the five best women's entrance themes of all time, but it did not make my top three. Number three. Now, you like heavy metal. I'm the hip hop guy. So number three is composed by Little Kim, and it's time to rock and roll. Nobody gets the pop that Trish gets when that giggle hits. When she gets that, oh, it's time to rock and roll. This time I lose control. I have been in crowds and people have lost their mind when she just does the giggle. The giggle, you know it's Trish. Go back and watch Royal Rumble where number 30 hit. She got the loudest pop by far. By far. Sasha, Becky, didn't matter. She got the loudest pop. And I think every time the giggle hits, people, it's a nostalgia thing. And I love the song because Little Kim's rapping at her peak. That's peak Little Kim rapping.
Yeah.
Not number three. It's number three, but it's not number two. Now, look, this is going to be, these next two are going to be, these are my cheat codes. But nobody can argue with me because these are way better than any songs that have ever been given to women. Number two, to be honest here, Bad Reputation, composed by Joan Jett for Ronda Rousey.
I
How
didn't even consider that one. No, I thought about it, but I wouldn't have put it on my list because it's a song that was out for 30 years.
and it's still great. It's a
Okay.
great, great song. Like I said, can you play it in your car? Yes. Can you play it to work out? Yes. Does the crowd, as much as wrestling fans don't like Ronda Rousey now, for whatever reason, if that music hits, people pop.
But if you're playing in front of friends, you could pretend it's not a wrestling song.
You know, it's funny. I know more people who know that from her UFC days than her actual wrestling days. Like
That's
people
true.
who know that song from the UFC, because remember, she used it in the UFC too. And that song has become synonymous with Ronda Rousey, right? You would agree.
Yeah.
Like modern day. Okay. But it's not number one. And number one is so obvious. I am shocked you didn't have it on your list. In fact, when I say number one, this is the most no-brainer number one of all time. This is so far and away better than any other women's entrance theme song. That again, I just thought it would be we would both have it.
Time out real quick. I think I may know what it is. Does she share it with someone else?
She does not share it with someone else.
Okay, so I was
So
thinking because I put China off my list because I
nope,
wasn't going
it's
to
not
do
China. It
DX.
is not
Okay,
China. It's not Stephanie McMahon. No, 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 no.
go ahead.
The year was 1985. And there was this thing called the rock and wrestling era. And from the late 1984 all the way through 1985 before she had a dispute, the original screw job happened to one Wendy Richter. But Wendy Richter in WrestleMania 1 came out to Cyndi Lauper's Girls Wanna Have Fun, which was her entrance music for one whole year. Girls Wanna Have Fun is one of the greatest songs in the history of music. Period. It has been remade a bunch of times. It has over 1.4 billion YouTube views. It has over 1 billion streams on Spotify. It is one of the all-time iconic songs that generations know this song. My daughter knows this song. My mom knows this song. So to me, again, let's look at the criteria. Played in the car. Well, I have played Girls Want to Have Fun in my car many, many times. I've done karaoke to this song. Well, I can work out to this song. It gets me hype. If I played it, will the crowd pop? Of course they will. And it's very synonymous with Wendy Richter, who was kind of the first breakout woman star, if we're being honest, to the mainstream because of her connection to Cyndi Lauper being in the video, Cyndi Lauper escorting her out for multiple events. So to me, that's the easiest number one of all time because as much as I love OG Sasha Banks, Sky's the Limit, Sasha Banks
Yeah.
would be the first to tell you, yeah, my song does not hold a candle to Girls Want to Have Fun. So here
Yeah.
is my list for everybody.
Yeah, and that's a great list. I did, I didn't say it, but I only considered songs that were made for wrestling, and I meant to say it because that's why I did not put Ronda's Bad Reputation on the list. Um, I considered only music that was made for wrestling. I am a little bit surprised with the hip hop background. And just let me unpack this for a second. Whether you love CEO or Monet at all, if you would have pulled the biggest Sasha Banks fans in the world aside in 2019, Chen would be the first to say this, by the way. I think she's tweeted it when the whole joke about making a rap album. If you would have said that she created two songs where she rapped on them, and we said, and you told us that in 2019, we would have been like, oh my God, she's going to embarrass herself so bad. And she did not. They are passably fine for wrestling songs. Hey, what what wrestler, male or female, did a better job on a song than she did?
MVP's done better for sure. On West Side Gun's song. Here's the thing. I'm not saying she wasn't passable for today's hip hop, but for what I grew up on, I wouldn't consider that good. So
I I, I happen to like the verse on Monet that she added actually after she came out to it the first time. I like that one better than CEO, but
is the money okay? So money is money, right? That's money, right? Okay, the one with the Ohio players and
yeah.
Chris Cross. Okay, so she took that.
But you know the verse,
Yeah,
right? Because it
she took
doesn't play till
yeah
2 minutes into the song.
yeah she took the she took the Nipsey hustle in the house beat, which then took from Chris Cross's jump, but that's where she took the break and everything. It's the same instrumental. My thing is, I really like OG Sky's the Limit of all of her songs. Now, I like the piano Sky's the Limit, but I really like the OG Sky's the Limit because I think it encapsulates her story so well. The way Watch Me Shine captures Bianca Belair. But I remember as a kid, I remember, the first WrestleMania 1, I did not watch when it came out. I watched WrestleMania 1 actually 2 years after it came out because when I got into wrestling, we were kind of on the road to WrestleMania 3. So like I had to go back to the video store and get WrestleMania 2 and 1. I remember my dad got me both and I got to watch them. And I was a kid, so Girls Want to Have Fun was on the radio all the time. And like to hear a wrestler come out to that song, it stuck with me because I thought it
Yeah.
was a big deal. Like, oh my God, like you have Cyndi Lauper escorting you, you're a big deal. And
Yeah,
so
I get that.
when I went back, I had to research this. I'm like, okay, did she only use Girls Want to Have Fun for WrestleMania 1? Because if she did, then I would take it out. I wouldn't have used it because I'd say, well, that's a one-off. But I looked. She actually used that entrance song for a whole year before she had the screw job. So I was like, okay, I gotta put it because you cannot tell the story. Like, here's my opinion. You can tell the story of professional wrestling without the theme song of Sky's the Limit or what. You can't tell it without Sasha Banks the wrestler or Mercedes Moné the wrestler. But her theme music is a part of her, but it's not her. She's an in-ring master. But you cannot tell the story of modern day wrestling without the rock and wrestling era. And to me, Cyndi Lauper, who by the way should be in the WWE Hall of Fame like yesterday, like what are we doing here? Her and Elizabeth. But Cyndi Lauper was so instrumental in getting the WWE to mainstream, right? If you go back to MTV, you go back to, Rock and Wrestling, her boyfriend, Hulk Hogan, Randy Richter, Roddy Piper, that whole thing, that resonates with me. And the reason I picked Joan Jett Ronda for Bad Reputation is honestly I think it's the only thing memorable about Ronda Rousey's wrestling career, other than the match she had with Sasha Banks. Quite
Yeah, I
honestly.
mean both those songs were on the charts before they were ever involved in wrestling. So they're
Right.
they're easy
Well,
easy.
okay, so to be fair, girls want to have fun incorporated wrestling in the video. Captain Lou Albano, Wendy
Right.
Richter, they're in the video. So I kind of look at that one as part together. But yes, for the Ronda Rousey one, I agree. It was a big song before Ronda Rousey ever took it. But then I look at it like this: how
I don't
many?
think she was born when it came out.
No, but how many people know that song? Okay, if we were doing a men's list, and I last night in my insomnia filled sleep, I tweeted out my 10. This is what I said. I think women's wrestling is better than men's wrestling. That's why we do this podcast. But I think if I were to list my 10 favorite entrance themes of all time, I don't think any woman would crack it. I don't think any woman would crack my top 10. That's not saying that they don't have great themes. I just think the men have been given more resources and effort into it.
Well,
But
if we're going with mainstream songs that men
CM
use, I
Punk.
mean, I listen to Living Color, irrespective of CM Punk.
That's no, so like to me, I'm not a metal person like you are. I'm not, I know enough to be dangerous. Like I went to a Metallica concert when I was in high school because of my older cousin. I know about, I listen to Nirvana, but that's, a lot of people listen to Nirvana who don't listen to grunge. I remember vivid, like very, vaguely the Cult of Personality song, but when CM Punk used it, I was like, oh my God, this song's great. I feel like Ronda Rousey and Punk have done for those songs a lot by having them at their entrance music. Like a new generation of fans know those two songs.
Yeah.
And
Um,
yeah,
but,
no,
well,
that
no,
I was gonna say that. Yeah.
yeah, and it's funny is Punk, Killswitch Engage is a band that I love. Outside of the song that people forget the match you were at, Money in the Bank. He didn't come out to Cult of
No.
Personality. He came out to his Killswitch Engage music. Real quick, it stays with my theme. Let me just give you my three other honorable mentions, and they're all wrestling songs. Um, I had The Future for Asuka. That beat
Yeah.
hits, that heavy beat hits, and everyone knows who's coming out.
The
One that I
original.
was surprised you didn't have on honorable mention because it's your girl, but I love Tokyo Shock for Io
Yeah. Yo,
Sky for a
I was
wrestling
thinking
song is
about that.
very good.
Yeah.
And my old school. So do you know what the number one selling WWE CD of all time is? It was their volume two, whatever they called. Volume one had like Hulk Hogan and old stuff on it, but volume two was the first time you could go out and buy a CD and it had DX,
Mm-hmm.
um, Stone Cold with the glass breaking. Disturbed did a special version for it, and then it had, believe it or not, was the third most famous. But again, for something that popped the crowd, it was the leopard growl or whatever Sable's ring music.
Yeah.
Um, and it was on the number one selling WWE CD of all time and the third kind of most listened to track. So I had to give that an honorable mention.
Yeah.
China would have been on the list, but she shared that song with all the DX guys.
So one of my honorable mentions that didn't make my whiteboard was Lita.
Mm,
Because I feel like as much as the Trish giggle is her, I think that Lita bar is to her. But it's like like I said, man, I have maybe I'm jaded because I'm from Toronto. It's probably part of the story here. But I was in that crowd when her first of 27 retirement matches happened. The one with Lita, 2006, Unforgiven, September. And I remember when that giggle hit, that was one of the loudest pops I ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Like it was loud. And I just remember the giggle. Everybody just when they hear it, they know it's Trish, and they pop. So that's why. And I actually like the song, like the Little Kim rapping adds to it. At the end. I know Jim Johnston did the music for it, and one of the things I realized about making this list is I do miss the CFOs because they do have a lot of songs I like a lot.
I think almost everything on my list,
Right. And
Sasha Banks, Watch Me Shine, Celtic Invasion. I mean, yes, they,
and when we were doing
Asuka.
this list, I was gonna message you and say, okay, is it have to be wrestling songs made for the wrestler, or can it be anything? But then I
I
said,
think
you know
it's good
what?
we had different perspectives.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So I left it, and I'm like, I thought about it, and it was like I was writing down the list, and I had an OG Sky's the Limit. I thought was gonna be like a runaway number two for me because I thought my original list was Trish one, Sasha Banks two, Bianca Belair three. Let me see, I had it here on this other piece of paper. Um, Spiteful Alexa Bliss four, and I had Free the Flame five, which is Amber Moon. So that was the original list I made. And then I said, wait a minute. I didn't just start watching wrestling in 2012 or 2005 or 2003. What about my childhood? Let's go back listen to Sherry Martell's music or Alundra Blaze. And then I said, well, Wendy Richter. And I started to so if you have the WWE network, Girls Want to Have Fun is not the entrance music. It's a song called Pop that Cyndi Lauper also did for Wendy Richter. So she had two Cyndi Lauper songs. She had Girls Want to Have Fun and she had Pop. And but if you go back and I have like if I have an original WrestleMania 1 like DVD, it is Girls Want to Have Fun. So that's why I picked that cuz like that's just one of my favorite pop songs of all time. So it's just like, okay, it's one of my favorite songs anyway. Like how you love Cult of Personality. If you were to do a list, that would probably make your list.
If
And I
we
think
did a men's
as
list, that would be my number one. Yeah.
like I said, I have long said this. Nobody is on this island except me. I think the best entrance theme of all time, I've tweeted this 100 times, is All American Boys, the Rougeau Brothers. I think that's the perfect wrestling theme because it's so funny.
Yeah.
Because they're making fun of Americans when they speak French in the part. They talk about how Americans are losers, and then they go to "We're all American." It's like in learning French at the time and knowing what they were saying. It just that song cracks me up. Like I like the themes from my childhood that are funny. Like Ted DiBiase, I love his theme. His theme is amazing. So if I were to do a list, I would probably pick the ones that are like for heels, but Punk or Edge probably, if we're being honest, have the two. The Edge
Yeah.
one, Punk one,
I
Hulk,
listened to both of those songs separately from,
NWO,
yeah. Yep.
NWO theme. Love that. So we're coming to the close this week, and got some women's wrestling to look forward to this week. We got a very big match happening in about 3 hours, which is going to be Asuka versus Rhea Ripley, Monday Night Raw. And it's going to further, obviously, this Rio versus Damage Control storyline. Excited for that. And we're also going to get today an announcement about what is going to happen with the women's world title.
Yep.
So that's good. We're going to see now what Becky is doing with the vision. But on Wednesday, we're going to get a Mercedes Moné match against Alex Windsor, which I'm very excited for because I'm a huge Alex Windsor fan. She has grown on me. And the one thing about Mercedes is she's going to deliver. She's like FedEx in that aspect. She doesn't really put on bad matches. And I am very excited, and I'll make the announcement here. September 20th in my home city of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I'll be there for my birthday week. I am going ringside, all out. One of my friends wants to experience wrestling for the first time. He's watched it his whole life, stopped watching it, got into it because of our podcast, watched some women's stuff I sent him, wants to experience it in person once. So we're going, and I hope that Mercedes is wrestling on that card. Now I'm a little worried because CMLL has a show a day before. So,
Yep. Um, I hope Tony puts his best foot forward on that card. He's not moving out of the time slot for WWE. He had it first. He's got to counter program it, not like the way WWE counter programs him, but just put his best card forward out there. And um, I'd love to see him really put, All Out's kind of a throwaway pay per view for them. It's kind of it's like Backlash. It's their version of WWE Backlash, which is not necessarily good. But I'm hoping that with the space in between All In, Forbidden Door, and All Out, and especially since you're going to be there trying to introduce one of your friends, reintroduce them into some good wrestling. Yes, I very much hope that she's there for you to see a good match. And I hope you guys get at least three women's matches. I think um, it's time for Tony to take this kind of world he's building underneath and get some pay per view. Uh, you know, have it pay off on a pay per view. Besides just the women's title matches. So no, we're excited. Next week we'll have plenty to cover with a couple really good matches. I also believe that Alex Windsor and Mercedes are going to have a great match. Hopefully, it opens or closes with 20 plus minutes, and it will be a really really good match. I think her and Alex have some good chemistry that we've already seen. So appreciate everyone listening so far. Appreciate everyone's feedback on the top five lists.
mhm.
Hopefully, you guys enjoyed. This week is probably the least aligned we've been, which I think is fun for the listeners and different perspectives. And that's kind of the point. We don't always want to be overlapping. Really excited to see what topic they're picking for us next week.
Well, right now the two kind of leaders in the clubhouse, they're tied. Ring gear is one, and the other one is returns or heel turns or face turns, like where the
Yeah.
character switches or the return, just like when the character returned. And I'm like, I feel like you could make a top five of Mercedes. In WWE, you could make a top five. She's returned that many times.
She's going to dominate both of those lists for me, if I'm being honest with
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
But
yeah. But I
I'll
think
probably
the
put some rules on the ring gear so that it's
yeah,
not,
like I don't like if you're gonna make her if she's one of your five, which I pretty much know which number she would be at. She can't have all five. Like it can't be her Great American Bash, her this, her that. It would have to be just her, the character, right? Like who do you think has the best ring gear as a
right.
wrestler? And that's that and the top five turns is one either way. Comebacks is one. And then the other one is, top five. Somebody's asked me to do a top five Japanese match list, but I told them, I said, like, I could give recommendations, but it's so subjective because, like, if you are not a Joshi fan like I was, like, in the 90s, you go back and watch that stuff, you don't know enough about the characters. You don't know enough about how they got to
Yeah.
that point. So you're just watching a match. But the truth is, I think Gear is probably going to be the one because that was the one leading when I looked last. So it's probably going to either be Gear or comebacks. And those are the two that were kind of the leaders. And we'll get to it by the time we get to next week's recording. And look, we have a lot of upcoming exciting stuff happening. The numbers are really good. Our best non guest episode was last week. So, we're very proud of that. And I think that you guys are sticking, you guys have joined us through Apple Podcasts. Like, I did not realize how many more subscribers and streamers we would get through Apple. So, shout out to RSS for giving us the platform to partner with Apple. So, um, like I said, if you listen to our advertisements when you listen to the podcast, if you mention our podcast, we get more royalties. So if you use Indeed, when you put the word balance sheet in, you help us out. So for all of the ads that play during our shows, if you put the word balance sheet in, it helps us. So please do that. Thank you for subscribing. We really appreciate it. And on that note, we will talk to you guys next week.
Thanks, everyone.